Yo guys, we got a lot to cover. There have been so many leaks regarding the new iPhones and the new technologies coming to them that I'm going to cover in one video. I just got back, so there's just a ton of stuff to cover with you. And I'm so excited because there's a lot of exciting stuff in here. And first off, I want to say I'm sorry. One of my lights broke, so the lighting may be a little off in this video. I ordered a very crazy new setup, so I'm excited for that to get here. But anyways, I want to start this off with some humor. So somebody's actually trying to sell a 6.1-inch iPhone for 100 grand. If any of you guys can pony up 100K, you can get an exclusive right to a trip to jail by Apple. That's basically corporate espionage. Even if this was legitimate and you can buy an iPhone, the unreleased model for 100 grand right now, I mean, how much money could you possibly make off of it before you actually get visited by authorities? And anything you do make off of it will be forfeited. Now, BGR has spotted the iPhone 10 Plus in its website visit logs. Apparently, someone at Apple is visiting it, and through some basic math, they were able to decipher the resolution of this device. And it's 1242 by 2688 resolution. That's higher than the iPhone 10s, of course, as you do have a little bit more screen estate, but the resolution, the pixels per inch, actually drops to 455 from 458. Pretty much the same thing. You will never notice that difference there, but a larger iPhone is being tested. If you weren't convinced whether it's coming out later this year, it certainly is, alongside the new refreshed iPhone 10. So we've got some new schematics of the all-new 6.1-inch iPhone coming later this year and the iPhone 10 Plus, and it does confirm a couple things. Earlier, we did see the very same schematics, but from a different source, so we know these are all but legitimate. Also, beneath the camera, you can see the flash is being deposited below it, not to the side of it like on the current iPhone 8. The lens has a different design to it now. It looks a lot like the iPhone 10 lens. The actual border of it looks very nice, and we visualized that for you in our renders. Honestly, I totally see Apple doing this. It looks like a budget end model, something you can easily differentiate between the more expensive models too. And also, a very interesting little detail on the side, the SIM card tray has been lowered, so it's not directly in the middle now, it's more towards the bottom. And this must spell some sort of different internals, like the structure could be a little bit different, something all new, because they're dropping that lower. Maybe the logic board sits lower in the phone. I'm very curious about that. And My Smart Price has also released their 4K versions of these schematics, and it looks great. There's a 6.1-inch next to the iPhone 10 Plus, and you can basically see how these devices will be differentiated. The iPhone 10 Plus is going to be a huge device. This thing is really coming into iPad mini territory here, but all, of course, in a very compact frame, full screen design. It won't be any bigger than a regular Plus phone, so that's awesome. These seriously look good. I'll leave a link for them down below. Oh, and I forgot to mention that these schematics are basically confirming that the notch will not be changing this year. There were rumors earlier that it would be getting smaller, but that is not the case. It'll be staying the same as the current iPhone 10. And some very exciting news regarding the charging. This year's iPhones will charge even faster than the current iPhone 10 and 8 series. A Rosenblatt analyst is saying that instead of the current 5 volts at 2 amps, Apple will now support 9 volts at 2 amps and 3 amps at 5 volts. So that means even faster charging. And with a fast charger setup right now, I mean, it's pretty reasonable, but it still could be faster. And they're saying the main reason that Apple is doing this is to compete with Android systems, to support more applications, and of course, a quicker recharge, which is what all of us really care about. And an insider source is saying that Face ID will be getting a Gen 2 this year. Much like Touch ID got a faster, more reliable version with newer phones, this is going to be the same for Face ID. Instead of the module actually getting smaller, the source is saying that it will be getting more reliable thanks to a new algorithm, and that reliability is going to be improving by 300%. They're not saying it's going to be faster, just more reliable, and it's unknown if that's going to be on the 6.1-inch or just on the exclusive 10 and 10 Plus models. And the same source is saying that dual SIM is in fact possible, but it will be reserved for the higher-end iPhone 10 Plus model. And that totally makes sense. There's a lot more room in the device to work with to implement this feature, so they're going to be reserving it for the iPhone 10 Plus model, and he's saying that the production of this device is already in full effect. And a supply chain source is saying that Apple is currently redesigning its chargers and applications for Lightning to USB-C on iPhone and iPad models starting in 2019. I have so many questions. I mean, yes, I want that to happen, but how likely is it that Apple will actually switch to USB-C? We've been hearing this rumor for the longest time, and I personally think that Apple will not be switching to USB-C for at least a few more years. Imagine the effects. Every car has a Lightning port in it. Every accessory that Apple makes, even on their own current computers, I mean, the keyboards, the mice, they have Lightning in them. Apple would have to make a huge quantum shift to USB-C, and it would disrupt so many things. So I personally don't believe this rumor to be true, but they're saying 2019 2019, we could be seeing USB-C on the iPhones. And I've rendered up what that looks like. It's a very similar port, slightly larger than Lightning, but pretty much the same size, more versatile, of course, and just the compatibility of it with your computers and everything. You wouldn't have to use all these different cables, would be awesome. Quick break from the iPhone rumors to something upcoming to the Apple Watch. Fast Company is reporting that Apple will be shifting from an actual physical button to solid state, much like going from the 6S to the 7. It's not a real button anymore. You don't click it. So a future version of the Apple Watch will be getting this on both the side button and the actual digital crown, where I'm guessing it'll be for a water resistance type of thing to help update that also, but it's just a logical step forward. Apple is switching over to solid state on the iPhones or removing them altogether, so of course they're going to do the same thing to the Apple Watch. Now, current Apple iPhone lens supplier Largan Precision is saying that they're working on a new 7P lens setup. This is a 7 plastic lens elements for an upcoming camera that's coming next year, and they're saying they're ramping up production for 2019. This is basically confirming that Apple is working on a triple lens camera, as their own supplier is saying that they're working on the lens elements for that third camera that's going to enable the 3x optical zoom and all those other great benefits we talked about in the last video. Now, this is kind of funny. We haven't even received a triple lens camera yet, but DxOMark believes that within the next few years, a quadruple camera setup is inevitable, as most manufacturers will be adopting a triple lens within the next few years, and past that, a 4 lens setup will enable 5x optical zoom and greater image quality. So I can only imagine Apple's evolution of the iPhone will just keep including more and more lenses for more and more functions. Now, I'm so happy about this. My boy Ming-Chi Kuo, the greatest Apple leaker of all time, basically, he left KGI Industries. Everyone said that he wouldn't be reporting on Apple anymore. Now with his new firm, TF International Securities, he's published his first Apple report, and he plans on doing so in the future as well. So that is so great that he hasn't abandoned the Apple leak scene. And his first report at this new firm starts off by saying that Apple will be implementing a new and more aggressive pricing strategy on this year's iPhone. Because of the blowback they received with the very expensive iPhone models, I mean, starting at $1,000 with 64 gigabytes, they're implementing a new model with cheaper devices. So the iPhone X Plus will peak between $900 to $1,000. The second generation iPhone X will be between $800 and $900. And of course, the cheaper 6.1 inch will be between $600 and $700 starting price. Now, he gave us a major spoiler with the release date of this year's iPhones. He says instead of the previously rumored November date, it'll be happening in September. Big surprise. And a very interesting prediction coming from the Wall Street Journal. They just published an article saying that Apple will be selling more LCD models versus organic LED this year. And this is because, of course, the cheaper model will be very similar to the more expensive ones with the display. It'll have basically a lot of everything you love about the iPhone X in a cheaper frame, and that is going to build anticipation for this device. Also, it could include the 7 and 8 models and whatnot, but LCD, this could be the year of LCD for Apple. And the Wall Street Journal is also anticipating that LCD will stay for 2019 as well. Previously, other sources said that Apple would be shifting to all organic LED iPhones next year, but that may not be the case. And Intel has begun production of the 7560 modem. This is going to enable the 1.2 gigabit download speeds in the iPhone. Intel is finally catching up to Qualcomm, so your iPhones will support much faster LTE download and upload speeds. And here are some patent applications from both TSMC and Apple that are way over my head. I couldn't describe them to you even if I wanted to, but basically it shows Apple's commitment to the A-series chips. They want to ensure that their processors have general evolution, that they're going to be getting faster with better bandwidth and so on. And it details a bunch of packaging methods where they can go to 2.5D, 3D, actual stacking of the transistors and get more out of their chips. And this would essentially go into something like an iPad or an iPhone, possibly even computers in the future. So Apple really is dedicated to improving their processors with time, and this goes to show it. And a little unrelated, but I still wanted to include it. You won't believe this. A company in Korea, SK Telling, is posting iPhone 3GS models fully factory sealed for $40 online. They just found a factory full of these things and they just want to get rid of them, so they're selling them for the equivalent of $40 US. I paid like $250 to $300 for this guy. They're selling quite high on eBay now, between $500 to $600. So $40 would be a bargain. It would be an investment. So if I lived in Asia, I would certainly be hoarding these things things from them. And the last thing I wanted to mention is that in a press release, Apple actually said that in a future version of iOS 11, they will be disabling the USB port after an hour so that it won't be able to transfer data, but of course you will be able to charge your phone. This is of course to prevent the brute force tool used by Grayshift from working in iOS 11, and it's certainly a smart thing to do. But the company quickly retaliated and said, we already have a patch or workaround for this, and it'll still work in upcoming versions of iOS 11 and iOS 12. So it's this crazy game of cat and mouse between a company that sells this product to law enforcement and Apple trying to fix the hole. So I'm curious to see how this all plays out, whether or not they're calling Apple's bluff or what. And where the heck is AirPower? As the Daring Fireball points out, it's been almost a full year since AirPower has been announced and still no sign of it, not even a subtle release date. But Apple did say it would come out in 2018, so they're technically not off schedule just yet. Last we heard, it was having some sort of overheating issues, and just like AirPlay 2, Apple wants to take their time with it before releasing it to ensure that it works properly and all that. I'm just so excited. I need that pad in my life. The fake one that I had was just a tease, so I'm personally guessing that it will come out with the new iPhones later this year in September, not likely before then. So which phone are you guys excited for? Personally, I'm going to be getting the iPhone 10 Plus. I'm so ready for a larger phone. I really miss the Plus size, and the 6.1 actually seems like a very great bargain for what you'll get from it. So I'm very excited to see how this all plays out. Thanks for watching, guys. That's all the latest leaks, and I'll keep you guys updated as usual. Peace.